Right. Well, it is 1:03. Caitlin will watch and make sure that we're not missing anyone if they're sitting in the waiting room. Make sure we get everyone in. We've got about an hour, hour and a half scheduled for the public hearing today. Again, thank you for public hearing, public comment today. Thank you everyone for joining. We're very excited to present and to hear from all of you, your thoughts and input on what the future of Kansas community empowerment looks like. Caitlin, if you want to jump to the name slide. All right. Well, my name is Sarah Bloom. I'm the Quality Places Director, and I'm going to let Caitlin introduce herself in just a second. But we are with the Kansas Department of Commerce, who is now administrating the Kansas Community Empowerment, formerly Kansas Pride program. And with those changes, we are relaunching the program and relaunching what the certification and the involvement looks like. And so that's what we're here to discuss today. And we will jump in just a second. I want to take just a few minutes. We have several board members on the call, and I'd like to give them each the opportunity to introduce themselves. I see Cindy and Laura for sure. If there's anyone else, if you just want to unmute and introduce yourself and where you're located and who you represent on the board, I would sure appreciate it.
I guess I'll go ahead and start. I'm Cindy Wagner. I represent Next Tech as a sponsor representative. I'm also a part of Empower Norton. So, and I live in Norton, Kansas, north of Norton, Kansas, and my place of business for the most part is out of Lenora, Kansas.
Perfect. Thanks, Cindy. Laura, are you able to unmute?
I am Laura Musall. I live in Blue Rapids, Kansas, and represent Blue Rapids Community Action Team.
And do I have any other board members on the call? I don't think so. If I do, I apologize for missing you, but we're going to go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, so this is today's agenda. We're going to do a quick introduction of the Kansas Community Empowerment Program and Kansas Commerce. Then I'm going to turn it over to Caitlin and let her introduce herself, and she's going to take us through the rest of the agenda today. She's going to do a listening to a recap. We're going to go through what the draft certification process looks like now, and then that's when we're going to open it up to all of you for public comment and feedback. So next slide. So on July 1st, we took over the administration of the program, we being Commerce, and we're very excited for that. The program has been around for years and years and years. It was previously managed by K-State Extension, but Commerce was one of the founding partners. So we've been involved in this since the very beginning. The administration is new, but we are very familiar with the program, with its mission and vision. And of course, we're very familiar with all of the communities. And we are a statewide organization. We're a part of the Quality Places Division. Our KCE is now a part of the Quality Places Division, and that division at Commerce houses the Office of Rural Prosperity, the Office of Broadband Development, Kansas Main Street. It also houses the Community Development Block Grants and what we refer to as Quality Place Specialists, which is where KCE is housed. And so that group gets all what I like to say the fun stuff. We get housing and placemaking and childcare and tax credits and community empowerment. So it's a group of about 35 of us that are all working across the state to make the communities that we live in a better place to live. And you might wonder why quality of place versus quality of life. That was really intentional. We believe that we can impact the quality of the places that we live, but we can't necessarily impact somebody's lives. We can paint a mural, but we can't force someone to go look at it. We can help build a park, but we can't force someone to go use the new equipment. So we can impact the place, and then it's up to the people living in our communities to impact their lives with the new amenities that we are helping to provide. So there's kind of the intent behind the name. But if you have any questions ever about Commerce, we hope that you reach out. If you have projects, we hope that you reach out. We would love to support and partner with you. But that is enough from me. Thank you again for being here. I'm going to turn it over to Caitlin Coulterman, who is the new administrator of KCE at Commerce. She has been with us just over a month, doing a fantastic, fabulous job. She's going to take it away. Thanks, Caitlin.
Thank you, Sarah. So I am Caitlin Coulterman. I am Quality Places Specialist as well. I'm the KCE Administrative Lead. So I started this position on September 29th. I've been with Kansas Commerce for about a year and a half, though. So I'm really excited to be here today. I was fortunate enough to be able to go on the KCE listening tour, which took place from July to September. Sarah did the majority of the visits, but I was able to go to 13 different communities. So I really got to see some of the small communities and meet some people that have been involved in KCE for the past couple of years. So our main takeaways were really, we want to make sure that we're really communicating and that we're showing up in communities. We want you to know our faces. We want you to see us at your events. Our goal is to be in every single KCE community at least once per year. We'd like to really clearly define the structure of the certification levels. What are the difference between the 3 different tiers? We want to make sure that everyone knows the benefits of being in each specific tier. We want to make sure we're providing trainings. That was a very big ask that people were asking for, is they were really interested in different trainings as far as grant writing, event planning, simpler reporting. We want to make sure that reporting is customized to the tiers and that reporting is very beneficial for the communities as well as for us who gets to read all of your reports. We want to provide you with the largest amount of grants that we can, and we'll go around, we'll talk about the grants in some upcoming slides. We want to make sure we're really connecting, getting the communities to network and learn from each other. So we've got a couple of ideas to be able to implement some initiatives around that. We want to make sure we are providing visibility for communities as well as recognition. And we want everyone to get on the same page about branding. I know there has been some confusion between Kansas Pride, Kansas Community Empowerment. So we really want to collaborate and kind of find some cohesiveness with our branding moving forward. So I'll just go over the draft certification process very briefly. I don't want to talk more than 5 minutes on this. Everyone should have access to the link that outlines the entire draft certification process. But I just like to go over the 3 tiers that we have, as well as a little bit about the grants that we're looking to implement. So we'll start with the program requirements. So we want to make sure that community development is really volunteer led. While it can be involved in the local government, we really want to make sure that it's not just an extension of the local government. We want to make sure that local volunteers are being empowered to volunteer within their communities. So if a program is associated with a city or county government, we also want to highly encourage that external members are also involved. And this is required for communities of excellence. We want every community group to have a mission and vision statement. We'd like every community group to report at least twice a year. We'd like our enrollment period to be July 1st through August 31st of each year. And we will be evaluating just on an annual basis. We want to check in with every community and just make sure that they know what the requirements are and that nobody's membership lapses just because they're not sure what they're supposed to be doing. So we'll be checking in with everyone to make sure that they're fulfilling the requirements for their level. So we'll start with communities of growth. So this is the basic tier, a minimum of 3 dedicated volunteers, just 1 annual goal, as well as 1 annual meeting. We have a community assessment tool that we would like communities of growth. This is recommended every 3 to 5 years, but it's not required for communities of growth. And then for every community, we'll have reporting twice per calendar year. I did see the question in the chat. We will be sending out these slides as well as the recording following the session today. The benefits of participating as a community of growth is that you will be eligible for Spark grants. And again, we'll go over the 2 different types of grants here in a second. You'll be invited to the KCE Summit daytime activities, invited to pop-up events, and access to any resources and trainings for KCE. Moving on to communities of action. This is different than communities of growth because instead of 3 dedicated volunteers, you'll have to have a minimum of at least 5 dedicated volunteers, 3 annual goals, 2 annual meetings, and then a community assessment tool must be completed. It should be completed within 6 months and then updated at least every 5 years. And then with this, we'd like communities of action to do at least 1 annual project with a minimum value of $500. Other grants can be utilized and in-kind donations, but we want to make sure that you're doing at least 1 project per year that's valued at least $500. The benefits for communities of action, again, communities of action are eligible for Spark grants. They're eligible to host board meetings and pop-ups instead of just attending. And they are invited to the KCE Summit and have access to resources and trainings as well. Finally, we have communities of excellence. So this is our highest tier. We wanted to make sure that that we had a little bit of a differentiation because we understand that there are very small communities that may be communities of excellence. So just a minimum of 5 dedicated volunteers for communities smaller than 1,500 in population, and a minimum of 10 for communities larger than 1,500. And as I mentioned before, if the group is associated with a government entity, at least 2 external members need to be not associated with the government. Instead of 3 or they'll 1 or 3 goals, they'll have 5 annual goals. The community assessment tool for communities of excellence must be completed within 6 months and updated every 3 years. For communities of excellence, we will additionally be requiring 1 annual project with a minimum of $1,000 value. Again, other grants can be utilized and in-kind donations can be used, but we do want to make sure that we are doing at least 1 annual project and staying active as communities of excellence. The benefits for communities of excellence, you're not only eligible for Spark grants, but you're eligible for impact grants as well. Instead of just attending the daytime activities, we will be inviting communities of excellence to the evening reception following the KCE Summit. Communities of excellence are also eligible to host board meetings and pop-ups, as well as have the opportunity to be featured in a community impact tour. And again, they have access to all resources and trainings. And now let's talk a little bit about our KCE grants. We have $125,000 in total funding for 2026 for the upcoming calendar year. So Spark grants, we have $500 to $5,000 are kind of the grant amounts for the Spark grants. Community impact grants, however, are $5,000 to $15,000. So we'd like to do 2 rounds of these grants. The first round hope to begin in January and ending February 28th, and then the second round September 1st to October 31st. And I just wanted to put in a little tier comparison because I know I just went over a ton of information, so I thought it would be nice to just have it in a little table. I can also send this image, hopefully. I did have it copied. I can send it to you all in the chat so that you can refer to it later, just to help you visualize the difference between the tiers. Oh, I don't think it's going to let me add it. I can share it with you though. All right, I've got that here. I just want to mention things to be excited about. We've got lots of fun ideas for upcoming and potential events. We have tentatively scheduled the KCE Summit for April 2nd, 2026 here in Topeka, Kansas. We're looking at scheduling 6 annual trainings. Those are to be determined on topics. But we're looking at having, I think, 2 of those in person and maybe 4 virtual. So have a little bit of a hybrid option for those that can't travel all around Kansas. Annual community check-in, annual empowerment tour. We'd like to do a statewide block party. Really excited about that. We're looking into still doing Community of the Year as well as the Rising Star Award like KCE has done in the past. We'd also like to implement some other potential awards such as Innovation Award, Collaboration Award, still kind of looking at what that looks like. And then we are looking at in getting communities to collaborate peer-to-peer and be mentors. We're looking at implementing a sister city program and or a mentorship program. So stay tuned to see some more details about that. And again, if you have any ideas or comments, be sure to note them today or email them to us. So with that, we'll jump into the public hearing. The purpose of this hearing is just for public comments only on the draft certification process. While we would love for it to be a Q&A, if it dissolves into a Q&A, we won't get to hear from as many people. So I would just like to have everyone raise their virtual hand or their physical hand. I can also see that as well. And you'll have up to 2 minutes. I just don't want anyone dominating the conversation. So I do have a timer that I can put up that will show you just about how much time you have left. If you don't have, or if you think of anything that you didn't have time to say, you can always email the public comments to kdc.kce@ks.gov. You have until Sunday, November 23rd to do that. And I think that's it. So with that, we can open up the floor to public comment. As I said, just raise your hand and I'll call on you. And you'll have about 2 minutes to speak, and this session is being recorded, so we'll have the comments verbatim, and we will review the feedback and implement them into the program. So with that, I'll open up the floor unless Sarah has something. Okay. All right, just raise your hand whenever you're ready to comment.
Caitlin, let's maybe put the image of the tiers back up so people can reference that and give feedback.
Yeah,
That's the
okay. Yeah, I can, that's why I put it in the chat, but I can put it up here.
Yeah, for those of us without multiple screens. There we go.
Okay.
Laura, what do you think we should do? We're going to try not to answer any questions today. We would love to hear your thoughts.
I am just asking if the communities are already involved, do they need to re-enroll each year? How is that process going to work? And would the community assessment tool then, the time that it needs to be filled out, would it start with, is it June 1 that we would enroll? I'm just trying to get it all figured out.
We are too, and that's why we want to hear from you all today. And everything that gets decided, as you know, will go through the board anyway. But as far as those that are currently enrolled, we will have a special enrollment period at the end of this year to get everything kicked off. We won't wait until July 1 to reopen enrollments.
Yes, Melvina. You're on mute. Could you unmute, or I can unmute you?
As a community of excellence community in the past, and we just got that designation again in 2025, is that, and so I was wondering if that was going to be good for 3 years, or you said something about assessing each year. So that was one of the concerns. And also another one was if we can partner with other organizations in our community for the $1,000 or $500 projects that we do, because most of our projects are not very expensive, what we are doing for our communities, unless we partner with someone else.
The designation will not be good for 3 years. This will be an annual renewal. There will be a special re-enrollment at the end of this year. And yes, you can partner. You can always partner with other organizations to make these projects happen.
And will we need to do a new assessment then, since we did assessment last year and we were doing the first impressions assessment, I think, in the first of the year?
We would have to look at your assessment, Melvina. I don't know what K-State required, if I'm honest. So I don't know.
So you have an assessment of your own then that we could
We
use?
do.
Okay. I think that was my comments.
This is Grant Spieth. I'm with the city of Columbus. I was wondering how you value the project value. In other words, how do you determine how much it's worth?
Well, by the checks written and the volunteer hours served. So we will put a value to volunteer hours. It will not be dependent on what the job of the volunteer is. I know that was a concern on the listening tour. There will be a set volunteer hour value, and you can use that as the project value, or you can show us checks written.
Yes, Cindy?
One thing that we really kind of haven't discussed was under K-State, there was a document that needed to be filled out with certification that you were at least known by your governmental agencies. And I don't know if that's something that we need to say, and that doesn't need to be answered right now, but I think it needs to be determined whether or not that'll be necessary or whether it will not.
Cindy, I think it's a great question for the board. My opinion would be that it's not required.
Okay.
I don't know that a volunteer group needs to be recognized by their government to be effective. And I think it's unfair to ask that, especially when we have a lot of unincorporated communities that we're serving.
I'm fine with that. I just
But
knew there
I
was,
mean, but it's ultimately up to the board, of course.
yes.
Grant, what did you think of my response? Would you agree with the annual project value with volunteer hours counting, or do you have a different idea for it?
Well, at this point, you're not collecting any hours, correct?
We will,
We used to report hours to the extension office on a monthly basis. But right now,
Correct.
we're not reporting, and so
it was a
um,
quarterly basis, right?
I, I'm not for sure. I thought it was on a monthly basis because we report a lot of hours in the community.
Yeah,
But
I
I'll
think
have to
maybe
check with the
I think maybe your
board president.
organization made your report monthly, but it was a quarterly report to K-State. We're changing that from quarterly to twice a year for each community, and it will ask for volunteer hours. So you will be reporting those still.
Okay, and how would you assign those to a project
Well,
if
if
you
you're
do it
building a
quarterly?
park and you have 10 volunteers, volunteer 10 hours, take that 100 times the set value and you've got it.
Okay, but if you only do it twice a year, then you have to have so much per project.
Mhm.
If you have a project that brings in $100 and a project that brings in $1,000, one project won't qualify, but
Correct.
one would. Are you combining those hours? Are you saying that per project you have to average $500 or
No,
$1,000
we're asking your group to do one project valued at $500 or valued at
per year?
1,000 per year. That's it. So if you do two and only one of the events is valued at that, that's okay. You've already met the minimum. We're just asking each community of action to do one project that's $500 or more. And in excellence, keyword being excellence, to do one project at $1,000 or more. And that can be an event. And I don't know of any event that you can host for less than 1,000 these days. It can be an event, it can be a project, it can be whatever that looks like for your group. So whether that's a community cleanup day or building a park or hanging banners, bake sale, whatever that looks like, volunteer
Well,
hours count.
it's all based on community hours is what you're saying. I
It
don't
can
think
be.
nobody's written a check to our organization as long as I know of there.
Yeah,
Besides,
no, it
the
absolutely can.
city has funded some of our activities.
Yep, no, it absolutely can be. It can be strictly volunteer hours, just valued at $1,000, which includes the amount of hours worked by your volunteers. And I think the national average for volunteer average right now, Grant, is around $38 an hour. So you're not gonna have any trouble hitting that.
Okay, no problem.
Hi, this is Laura Musil again. Excuse me. I'm just wondering what else will be involved with the reporting other than hours? Is that, or has that been decided or?
Hasn't been decided, Laura.
Okay.
Sarah, this is Patsy Maddie. I'm going to be honest, I haven't had a chance to read through everything yet, but can you tell me who qualifies as a volunteer for those volunteer hours to count? Do they have to be those individuals that serve on your Empower group? Or how does that work?
No, the dedicated volunteers that are required as part of the commitment do not have to be the same as the volunteers in your project. We hope that you are creating projects that are attracting people from outside your organization to get involved. That's a successful organization. So no, any volunteer that shows up to that project and serves hours is eligible to count towards that value.
But those projects need to be under the name of the Empower group.
It can be a partnership, but it needs to be a pretty big partner. Your KCE group or Pride group needs to be an integral part of the project.
Okay.
Unless you disagree. Again, this was not supposed to be a Q&A, so you all give us your opinions.
I guess that's kind of where our group was always a little bit confused as far as what volunteer hours count, whether it was hours that anybody volunteered in the community to, water flower pots, each week, or put out banners or clean up at the cemetery. That was kind of the confusing part of us collecting volunteer hours and which hours counted. Did it have to be a member of our Empower group that was there assisting? And was it just their hours that counted, or all the volunteers that were there helping? So, that's what, just trying to find clarification so that when we do start collecting hours again, we are doing it accurately according to what is expected.
What's your preference, Patsy? I mean, how does your group operate?
Good question. And maybe Cindy can help a little bit with this too. We are Empower Norton. That's what we changed our name to. And to me, anything that happens that is making improvements within our community, we're trying to do, it's making our community better. Like at the beginning, you said, what did you say? Quality in place.
Quality of place. Yep, quality
There
of
you
place.
go. Yeah, quality in place. And so I don't care either way, but we just want to make sure we're reporting accurately. But like I said, anytime you can get anyone in your community to volunteer hours to make your community a better place, I think is important.
Yep. Let me say this and see if it clears it up for everybody. With the new requirements, everyone's going to have their own mission and vision for their group. If your group's mission and vision is to beautify Norton and make it a better place, then I think any volunteer hours that does that qualifies as hours, as long as they're doing it with your mission and vision in mind on behalf of your group, whether another group asks you to help or not. Maybe the city says, hey, can your group help us with the flower pots? They're asking your group, it fits your mission and vision. You say yes, it counts as volunteer hours.
That definitely helps. So, okay. Yeah. And I can't remember, I think we have a mission and vision, but we would probably be able to adjust all those things before everything goes into effect with this group, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome, thanks.
Of course. Thanks. That was a great question. Great insight.
I'm kind of curious to know what other communities, how they're feeling about I'm kind of excited about the reporting requirements, twice a year. The only downside might be if you don't keep track of it, as you go, you might not be able to remember all of it. But I think this is just, I'm really enthused about that. As a community member and a member of Empower Norton, sometimes the reporting was difficult. So I'm curious to know if other people's have comments about that as well.
I'm going to take it as they love it, Cindy.
I guess I do. So
I'll tag Cindy on that. This is Patsy. The reporting was difficult, to say the least. And I do agree, if we don't keep track as we go throughout the year, it's going to be really hard to submit that like twice a year. But I do like the idea of doing it twice a year. That being said, and like I said, I am very guilty of not having time to go through and read everything that you sent out. How will the awards be distributed? Is it something that, you have to submit that? Will they only be given like twice a year? Is there something that, you can submit at any time? Do you have to meet certain requirements before, which I assume you do, before you're eligible?
You're talking about those special recognition annual awards, like the Community of the Year and the Rising Star?
Right. So to me, we would have to go through a full year in order to get that designation. Is that correct?
Not necessarily. So we know that with the previous administration, I believe it was done once a year, maybe twice a year. But we don't want to have to wait, it'd be almost a year and a half with how the structure is, because what we'd like to do is have the award ceremony in conjunction with the KCE Summit, which will be on April 2nd. So I would anticipate, and again, this is all very fluid, very up in the air because none of it's been approved by the board, but I would anticipate us opening nominations at the beginning of the year for even the awards as well. It will be a little bit more in depth from what K-State was asking for, if I'm honest. I haven't seen the full applications, but we want to put some real meat behind these awards and really recognize the people that are doing incredible things and ask a few more questions. And especially with there being money tied to these awards now too, which was one of the requests that we heard from the impact tours. Communities wanted to see monetary awards again, and so we're trying to bring those back. With money involved, we want to really make sure that there's a little bit more involvement with what we're asking. But I would anticipate we have our first round of awards, and maybe we don't have all the awards in April, but at least we have 4 awards. Maybe we're recognizing a rising star from each of the levels, and we're recognizing a community of the year in each of the levels, plus an overall community of the year. I don't know, but I would anticipate some sort of recognition at the summit on April 2nd. And I don't know what it looks like yet. And again, we're having this to hear from all of you. So if you have opinions on that, we don't want to be dictators here. We want to do what you all want us to do. So if you have an opinion on if we should have it on April 2nd, or if we should wait until April of 2027 to have the first awards, that's what we're here to learn today.
To me, that just sounds like accountability. So you're just making sure that what is submitted is accurate, and then it gives you guys more information to report back on as well. So
Yes.
I think that's a good idea.
And yeah, I mean, communities will have to be in good standing with their reporting. Communities will have to be, active, communicating with us, participating in some of the training sessions, things of that. Like we haven't worked out all these details. So whatever you all think, you have the capacity for too, because you all are volunteers. You're not getting paid to be here right now. You're not getting paid to do the wonderful things that you're doing in your community. What do you have the capacity for? Is what we have on the screen even feasible for your community right now? Do you see yourself in one of these levels? That's what we want to find out today. Or are we asking too much?
I'm going to ask Patsy a quick question. Do you
Okay.
see Norton is over 1,500? Do you see 10 active participants? Can we manage that?
That might be a struggle.
That might be a struggle. So I'm just throwing that out there. I just wanted a second opinion.
No, yeah, you're right. And Sarah, like you said, we are all volunteers. Pretty much all of us have full-time jobs, and this is kind of a side gig, along with all the other side gigs that we have. 10 like active, very involved members would be a stretch for us right now. And our community, I think, has done some really good things since we have been active the last, round. Yeah.
I
Good
think it's
question.
great feedback. It's great feedback. Would communities, do we need to change that number? Maybe it's communities less than 3,000 can have a minimum of 5 and greater than 3,000 minimum of 10. Does that fix it? I mean, it fixes it for you all. What are the sizes of some of the other communities that are on the call?
Columbus is just under 3,000. And
Okay.
we our regular membership, other than the city employees, is less than 5.
Okay. So that would be an issue for you too. So it sounds like we
Yep.
need to adjust those numbers a little bit.
Yeah, good point, Cindy. I agree. I just think that would be really difficult. Can you explain pop-ups? It's under events and hosting. It says invited to pop-ups.
Yeah, kind of. One of the big requests when we were on the impact tour is at one point in time, people used to load up buses and go to different communities and experience the community and get to shop and hear about what was happening. And that was one of the requests, is that we bring back some sort of interaction between the communities themselves. So when we say pop-up, what we have envisioned in our mind is once a quarter having a pop-up in a KCE community where we, the group, pop up and hear from the volunteers about what they're doing. And then we spend some time in their community, shopping, eating, exploring, and sharing ideas and networking with each other and supporting each other through some economic development activities.
Okay, so when you say we, do you mean the Kansas board comes
So-
to like Norton?
Yes, so we would absolutely
Okay.
invite the board, but we would invite the entire KCE membership to come and explore your community.
Okay. Cool. That would be a good way to get ideas. So this community is doing this awesome project. It'd be a good way to take it back to your community.
Yep.
Could we talk about the Rising Star Award just a bit? In the past, if you wanted to nominate someone from your organization for their volunteer work, I think you were pretty much guaranteed that you would get the little plaque with their name on it. There wasn't any monetary award whatsoever. And I think it's really important that we recognize those volunteers. Personally, I don't know that it has to have a monetary amount attached to it. If we decide not to go that way, that's fine. We can do it in-house, but it means more coming from, the overall board instead of just your own organization.
Yeah, it's good feedback. Laura, what's your recommendation?
I just think if people nominate someone, they must think highly of that person. They've done a lot for the community. I think any community that takes the time to do that should receive an award, is my thought. Not a monetary award, just the plaque that says Kansas Community Empowerment recognizes whoever for their volunteering efforts, or, whatever you want to say, Sarah. I don't know. That's just my thought. I don't know that a monetary amount needs to be. I would rather see every community that applies receive that rather than have one or two communities recognized with a monetary amount and a plaque. Does that make sense?
It does. What are your thoughts on recognizing everyone no matter what, but then having 3 monetary awards for the cream of the crop?
And that's fine too. I just think, like I say, they're all volunteers.
Mhm.
And those that go above and beyond should be recognized.
Yeah.
In any community that wants to nominate someone.
I agree with Laura. Anybody that's doing something, doing any kind of volunteer work, and I mean, you're kind of comparing apples to oranges, because, your rising star in a small community might be doing amazing work with very few resources, where someone in a larger community may have the capacity and the ability and the resources to do, bigger projects or at a bigger scale. So, just the recognition alone, I think, would be awesome, especially from a state organization. And if it could be put out.
I have a quick question or some more feedback on this Rising Star. If you're considering doing the awarding pretty much everyone, are you going to limit that to one? Like, for example, Empower Norton could nominate one. I mean, if we were nominating 10, these plaques could get quickly to be a very
Big expense.
Mhm.
big
Maybe-
expense.
Maybe it's a board discussion for sure, Cindy. Maybe
Yeah.
if we
Yeah.
open it up to anyone and everyone again, maybe they get a very nice framed certificate instead of a full-blown plaque, and then the plaque is reserved for the larger award, the monetary award at the annual summit. We can certainly figure something
Yeah.
out. I am not in disagreement that we shouldn't try to recognize and honor the volunteers at every turn.
Mhm.
I agree, Cindy. It should be either one person or one couple
Mhm.
from each organization. If you give it to everybody, it loses its meaning to me.
Yeah.
But
I agree with that as well.
Yeah.
And then pretty soon you won't have anybody to nominate the next year.
Yeah. Well, and Laura, that's absolutely the thought behind, one per level, is if everyone just automatically knows that they get it, is it as valued as it should be? So it's a great point.
How many communities across the state of Kansas are there, like in each level? Do you have any idea?
Yep, I can absolutely tell you that. Caitlin, you don't have it pulled up, do you?
I don't have it pulled up, but I
Very good.
can
I got you.
find it.
I got it right here.
Sweet.
We currently have We currently have 62 communities enrolled. This is as of July 1st because we have not added any since we took over because, as you all know, we wanted to go on the listening tour first to hear from you all before we made any changes. So communities of action, we have 25. Communities of excellence, we have 20. Communities of growth, we have 16. And then we have one that's not labeled because they got added to the list, but they had not actually filled out any of the paperwork because they got added to the list in the midst of the transition. So if someone's doing my math, I didn't forget someone.
Hi, this is Julie from Erie. Um, recognition could be as easy as a group email. I mean, if you didn't want to go berserk with spending money, you could do some kind of a certificate to send. But a thing about who you are and what you're doing, not only does that honor that person, but it does that networking thing so people know what's happening.
Absolutely.
So it could be something like that, or like they do the tidbits thing. It could be something similar to that. It's like a newsletter.
Mhm.
Certainly would be cheaper than trying to spend big money for, awards.
Facebook
Great.
post.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
we'll definitely do all that.
it-
Yes.
Good idea.
Yeah.
all of that stuff is probably for most people being able to say, look at this, it's on here, you can see it. And for a lot of people, that would be as important or more important than getting something, because one of the things that I do personally is I do online auctions, and we constantly have things like bowling trophies and all that stuff that people have to get rid of. People clutter their lives up with stuff. Not that this isn't important. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's important. But after a period of time, do you still have space to put 14 little awards up on your wall? I mean, I'm not trying to disvalue it at all. I'm just saying that people very often like the recognition where other people see rather than the fact that they got an award. Just guess.
Thank you, Julie.
I like the idea too, that does kind of share why they're getting the recognition, and maybe puts an idea into someone else's mind, or, hey, I could do something similar in my community. So I think there's a lot of value to that.
I think that could also be a really good promotional tool, because I'm going to make an assumption that the purpose is to gain more communities to become a part of this group. And, and I'm not sure what kind of a plan you have to make that happen. I don't even know how Norton initially, way back when, became a pride community. I know it was through extension. But what are your game plan, your goal as far as gaining more communities to join?
No.
You know what? That hasn't been set by the board yet.
Mhm.
We'll keep you posted. Right now, honestly, we don't have a goal of we would absolutely love to have more. Don't get me wrong, but to put a number on it, we don't have that right now. We just want to launch a program that works for every community in the state, no matter what size they are. And that was the whole point of the listening tour, is to hear what we have done well, what we can do better, what you all need, how we can support you, and how we can best move forward together. If we can do that by July 1st of next year, that's 1 year since we've taken over, and we still have all 62 communities enrolled, and they're thriving in the program because they are re-engaging new volunteers and creating new projects, or even maintaining the projects they have, and there's more grant money available than ever before. That's a success in my books. So right now, we're just trying to relaunch successfully for the benefit of all communities, staying very centrally focused on communities, or community focused at our center, however you want to word it. And then we'll worry about getting new communities signed up. But once you all are signed up and successful, everyone's going to join anyway. They're all going to see the cohesion, the collaboration, and the successes happening, and it's going to naturally grow.
Totally agree. And you guys, this was a big task to take on, and I think you've done an excellent job. Like I said, haven't had time to read through everything, but just the chart and putting all this stuff together. Congrats on doing that and getting it done.
Thank you.
When you guys came to the Erie Chamber meeting, or after the chamber meeting, we really enjoyed it. And I want you to know how much I appreciate you showing up. made a big difference on how people looked at it.
Thank you, Julie.
Hi, this is Teresa. And this is our first year. We just started in January. And so when you were talking about the different levels, I assume we're a community of growth because it's our first year, but I don't know. Was there paperwork we were supposed to fill out and didn't?
Cindy, do you have an answer to that? I don't know what was required, if I'm honest.
Well, there was, to be in good standing, there was a certain amount, I mean, like I said, there was a governmental, but that's gone. There's just,
I filled
Yeah.
out the first quarter report, but then when I went to do the second quarter report, that's when everything changed.
Cut you off. Teresa, you are a community of growth right now.
that's what I would have assumed, but yeah.
But with this new structure, and again, you guys tell me if you hate this or if you love it. With this new structure, any new community can sign up at whatever level they feel they have the capacity for. So Teresa, come the end of this year, when we reopen this enrollment, you can stay at community of growth, or you can apply to be one of the others. With this new structure. And that, again, if you all hate it, we want to hear that. Thank you, Charlotte, for that comment. This really, and again, everything that we've designed is based on what we heard on the listening tour. We're trying to make this as customizable for each community as possible so that whatever you feel you have the capacity for, whatever your goals are as a community or as a KCE volunteer group, you're able to achieve and achieve successfully with our support and whatever support that looks like to you. Because we heard from some communities that are like, you know what? We use the name because it keeps our group together and it allows us to do our 2 annual events successfully. That's fine. Be a community of growth. But we heard from other communities that are like, you know what? We've got our group, we've got big dreams, we need more money. We want to be a community of excellence. That's okay too. We want this to work for everyone, no matter where you are. And we don't want to put certain restrictions. We don't want you to have to be involved in the organization for 3 years before you have access to grant money. We want to be able to spark that growth and spark that impact from the get-go if your group is ready for it, if your community is there.
I like those thoughts, Sarah. And plus you can choose a level that will be comfortable, but yet challenging so that there's something to work toward. And, you know, I always think if there's a little bit of a challenge there, it makes your group just a little bit stronger because you're going to try to meet those goals.
And hopefully, and again, this is where we're looking for feedback, guys. Are the benefits worth it? I mean, again, there's more grant money available now, $125,000 just for those 62 communities right now. It's more grant money than this program has seen in a long time, maybe ever. I don't know the full history of it. If you're a community of excellence and you can get up to $15,000, that's a huge benefit. Getting to host, you know, potentially 100 people in your community who are going to stay there and shop for a day, that's a huge benefit. Are those benefits big enough to find the volunteers, to find the $1,000 project, to come up with that mission and vision? Like, I don't think we're asking a lot, but if you all think we're asking too much, that's what we need feedback on.
I think
Sarah,
you're, go ahead, Laura.
I'm sorry. I'm just looking through the tier comparison, the annual goals. So is that any project that you have? For example, it might be flowers in the square, yard of the month,
Yep.
Hosting a bake
fundraising.
sale. Yep.
Any of that is
Any
a
of that is a
goal.
goal.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. In my opinion, again, if you have a different opinion, bring it on. That's my opinion.
Well, and I think anything, like we said earlier, that's going to improve your community is going to be a benefit. And with your minimum project valued at $1,000, that is extremely doable, because that $1,000 isn't going to cover a whole lot. So it's, especially your bigger projects. So I think that's very doable.
Question?
Your KCE summit might get to be a large thing if people really
Love
get.
that.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that sounds exciting because it's also a place that your recognitions can happen and things can happen and people can get together and brainstorm. So I love the idea of the KCE summit.
Me too. And keep in mind too, I know I told everyone that I met with on the listening tour, it's not just a day of networking, it's also a day for you to tell the legislatures the amazing things that you're doing and why your community matters and why your volunteers are making the impacts that they're making. It's your opportunity to tell your story to your elected officials and each other. And we will design the day sessions to do just that, to give you time to interact with elected officials and each other, and then have an evening reception to wind down and celebrate your successes and recognize those awardees, and really have a beautiful celebration of everything you all have accomplished.
I was just going to ask you where that summit will be held, but I'm assuming it'll be Topeka.
Yes.
It will definitely be Topeka. Yeah, and that
Awesome.
won't change every year, and that's why, again, we want to have these pop-ups, because we know it's not feasible for everyone to make it to Topeka, but that's where our elected officials are, and we are purposely putting it in April because that's when they're all in session. And so they will all be in their offices and ready to hear from you. But then the pop-ups will bring the focus back on your individual communities.
Sarah, has it been established yet if the grants would have a match to them, or is this just outright? Do we know how that's going to work?
I'll let Caitlin answer. I've talked a lot. I'm gonna let Caitlin
Yeah,
answer.
no problem. Yeah, we have looked at the grants having, I think what is it, the Spark grants have a 1-to-1 match. Hang on, I've got it.
I think everything has a 1-to-1 match.
Yeah, 1-to-1 match for both. But that can be in kind, it can be volunteer hours. So as we said, the volunteer hours are what, $38 an hour, so it's pretty easy to get up to that amount.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Laura, the reason we didn't present all of that today is because we have not presented it to the board, and we did not think it was fair for us to present any details that we have worked out before presenting them to the board. So Caitlin and I have an idea of what we think the grants should look like,
Good.
but we didn't want to give any details without talking to the board first.
Sure. Thank you for all you're doing. This is just has to be overwhelming.
Caitlin's doing a fantastic job of keeping it all organized.
You are doing great. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate that
Yes,
feedback.
thank you.
Caitlin, I'm going to leave you to it. I have another call to jump on it too. Thank
Okay,
you
no
all again
problem.
for joining and for your comments. Please continue to stay on and talk this through with Caitlin as your time allows, and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, well, I have until 2:30 if anyone else has any more comments. I know I think we put 1 to 2 p.m., but as I said, I've got extra time if anyone wants to keep discussing.
This information has been very helpful.
Great, I'm glad.
Thank you for all you're doing, and keep us informed as to how we can be helpful.
Yep, we sure will. All right, thank you, Julie, for that comment. Okay, yeah, thanks, Debbie. That's a great idea. Yes, any volunteer hours if you're partnering, It's just the volunteers are coming into your community to volunteer, so those would count as volunteer hours. Any other final comments? Anything you can think of?
I think really we're at the point where between KCE and the board, we need to define some things because there's lots of questions left.
Mhm.
And I think the quicker we can get some of those details out to everyone,
Yes.
the clearer it will be.
Yes, definitely. So I know we went over the timeline a little bit of what's next. But we will have the public comment open through November 23rd. So if you think of anything else that you'd like to comment that didn't come up in this meeting, you can always send it to kdc.kce. We'll be working on this next week, and then we'll compile all of the feedback and put it into the certification process, and we will release that on December 1st. So I'll send out an email to everyone. So that's the day that we will be communicating with everyone. I think that's a Monday. So we'll get it out as soon as we can and get the special enrollment period started.
Thank you for all your work, Caitlin. I think I'm going to have to pop off
Okay.
too. So
No problem.
Same. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you everyone for your participation. This was really great. Any other last minute comments? All right. I'm going to go ahead and close. Thank you.